Good morning and welcome to the September edition of the Cannon County Chamber Connection. I'm glad that you could all join us today, and I hope we have some things that we can, some people and some events that we can talk to and talk about that will interest you, because we always have something going on in Cannon County. And of course, we want to thank DTC because they make this possible, and they do have our thanks for that. Fall is just around the corner. You couldn't tell it this week because it's been up in the 90s, but it is just around the corner. And with that and the cooler temperatures come more events. And so going into October, we have a full lineup of things. And of course, I will tell you about the things you've missed. We did have the Cannon County Walking Horse had their trail ride. I think everybody had a big time on that. This weekend, which you probably won't see this in time, but we have the White Oaks Craft Festival, which is an art center event. And it will be outside. If you do happen to see this before then, it's on Saturday and Sunday, and you come on down because there's over 72 artisans that will be set up for this. And I guarantee you, you'll find something that you can't go home without. And so then we have a lot of festivals and school activities because school has started. And along with that comes sports, harvest festivals, and a whole lineup of things that the schools are involved in. And of course, I know you probably don't want to hear this. Of course, it's one of my favorite times of the year. Christmas isn't far away, so if you haven't done any shopping, you might get a head start on that. I do have some guests with me today, and we have Mr. William Freddie Curtis, and he is our newly appointed director of Cannon County Schools. How are you?
Good morning, Ms. Carolyn. It's great to be here. I'd like to tell our DTC viewers I appreciate the partnership with DTC and our sports programming that we're doing with our football games going on, and several of those have been broadcast. DTC Sports with Tom Duggan is a very good friend of ours, but appreciate the partnership with DTC too with the schools.
They're great partners.
And we're very fortunate to have them, especially a broadcast of this kind.
That's right.
Thank you for the invitation this morning.
Well, that's quite all right. We want to talk to you and see what your plans are.
Well, that's a lot. I could go. I've got like a 5-minute version, a 3-minute version, and a 30-second version.
Well,
I have my 2-hour version.
Maybe not the 2 hours.
But great greetings to all of our viewers from DTC, and again appreciate the partnership. Cannon County Schools are on the move. We are been moving greatly. I was selected, had the very good fortune of being selected as the director of schools in December of last year as the interim director, and December 1, that's when I began my job. Previous to that, I had been an elementary teacher for 16 years at Westside here in Cannon County. Then I became the principal of Westside and stayed there for 6 years, ending in 2008. And then asked for a transfer, and I was granted a transfer to go to Cannon County High School to be the U.S. Government Sociology teacher at Cannon County High School in 2008. And so I served at the high school from 2008 until November the 30th of 2017, when I was named the interim director of Cannon County Schools. And then on March the 29th, in a special call meeting of the Cannon County Board of Education, I was selected to be the permanent director with a 3-year, 3-month contract here in Cannon County. So I've had 33 total years in Cannon County Schools.
And you've done a little bit of everything. You've been a teacher, a principal,
high school teacher.
High school teacher, you know, so you kind of know what's going on or what to expect in each of those.
And that's what one of the reasons I think the Cannon County Board of Education chose me, is because I had I like to call it my 20,000-foot view of education.
Okay.
And that is looking down and of having seen it all. The only thing I hadn't done in the school system had been an administrator at the central office as a supervisor. But other than that, I'd been involved in all facets of education here in Cannon County. And thought I was done with the administrative thing until that happened. I loved being a government teacher and was involved in several state initiatives and state activities. I was on 3 different committees working with the state of Tennessee, and particularly in government and civics education. And then I was asked to be the interim director because they knew that I was kind of a neutral party in all of it, and I could look at the best interests of students. And then we looked at that, and I evaluated it, made a decision then to go for the full directorship.
Full gamut.
And here we are. We're a month in. You're saying it's fall is in the air. We've been going to school now. We started our in-service on October 1. So we're already celebrating a month in school just about. And think about all the activities and all of we have for our viewers, we have 6 elementary schools, K-8s in Cannon County. And then we also have the high school that is 9 through 12. So we are constantly on the move. There's activities going on all the time. Mentioned Harvest Festivals. The first Harvest Festival for this school year is this Friday night coming up at Westside Elementary School. And then next Friday night is the one at Woodland.
And
then we have East Side Saturday. East Side is the following Saturday, and the following Saturday is Short Mountain in Auburntown. Then winds it up then in the first Friday in October. So we commend all of our principals. In fact, I just came from a principals meeting at the central office, and we have a great group of employees, Carol, in our system.
Well, good.
And we're on, like I say, we're on the move, so I can go any direction you want to. We've recently added a new mission statement and a vision statement.
I did read your mission statement, and I was very impressed. I was. And you might go over a few of those things.
The school board met in a special session workshop on July 16th and 17th. Here in town, we used Michael Burt's facility here in town, and we got a person from TSBA, the Tennessee School Boards Association, came and led that planning session, and his name is Mr. Randall Bennett, and he directed that session. And one of the things we've looked at, and we haven't looked at in a long time in Cannon County schools, is a strategic plan. And part of that strategic plan is developing a mission and vision and goals. We hadn't visited those in a long, long time. So my first thing as the permanent director is to look at, let's see, why do we do what we do? And then how are we going to get there? And then the third thing is developing goals on how to achieve that mission and vision. And then looking at solid beliefs that everybody believes in about our students. And so getting that all in place, then we can go to the next phase, and that's implementation of our goals and what those goals are. So I'll be glad to share the mission, vision, and our goals with you this morning.
One of the things that I had noticed on here that has probably been front and center here as of late couple of years is the safety aspect.
Absolutely. That's one of the most important things. That's one of our goals. So let me say that our vision of Cannon County, or mission, of Cannon County Schools is preparing all students for their future. Every one of these viewers have children or grandchildren, and our job is to prepare them, everybody, all those students in our systems, for their future. Because every student has a future. That's the ultimate goal, is to see them walk across that stage is our goal. In fact, at the central office, we have hanging up there in the foyer is a gown that is in the maroon and gold that you have right here, the maroon and gold colors of Cannon County High School, that our goal is to see them walk across that stage and be college and career ready. So our job, whether you're a kindergarten teacher or a senior and high school teacher, every one of our job is to prepare them for their future. And so how do we do that? We do that through our what we call the new E3. We had an old E3, which was engaged in educational excellence. But we revised that in that meeting with board members and principals and supervisors. And here's what we came up with, is to be engaged in excellence every single day. And I do that with students. I visited, I just like two schools, visiting every student in Cannon County and talking with them. Here's what I tell them. I want them to be engaged in excellence every day. And then I put my hand back. What do you got left? You got the thumb. I said, give me a thumbs up if you're going to do your best every single day. So I've done that with kindergarten students as well as seniors in high school. And they're always saying, we're going to be engaged in excellence every day. That's your promise to not just to me, but to their teacher and the school system itself. Is saying, we're going to be engaged in excellence all the time and to become one of the highest performing systems in the state of Tennessee. That's our goal.
Well,
is to
good.
bring our test scores from that point to that point. Well, how do we do that? And that's where we get into our goals.
Okay, well, that's
So I can go
great.
a long time. I can go a long time, Carolyn, on that. But it's a
Teach
pleasure.
me.
It's a pleasure to talk with our viewers today about that.
It is, and it takes a community to do this. You've got to have businesses involved in it. Parents and teachers need to communicate with each other, and not as enemies, but for the betterment of the child.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes we fight each other, and we shouldn't do that. And I don't mean fight.
Right.
I mean, we
Well, the
kind of,
adversarial relationships, and that's what I've tried to do too, is to get the adversarial relationship. The county commission is the fiscal agent that provides the funding. The Board of Education then, and their employee, which is me, they elect one employee, and then I hire everybody else to carry out their goals and mission. And to do that, there is kind of an adversarial relationship between those who pay the money and those who spend the money. And that's what we do. And so we've had some, and that's where I've got recently with the new county executive. Bush and I had lunch yesterday. And developing those relationships, I know all the county commissioners, we're going to have a joint planning session of long-term planning between a workshop setting between the Board of Education and the county commission. And trying to get everybody on the same page to see what's best for schools in Cannon County, particularly as we look at long-term planning and long-range planning. That's not been looked at in a very long time, no pun intended. Well, maybe there is.
We go from one election to another.
But we need to look at that and sit down with a long-term mission and vision. But now that we've got the mission and vision in place, now let's look at that as that we're being engaged in excellence every day. We want the best for Cannon County. And I think the County Commission would agree, certainly with the Board of Education, that we're wanting the best for Cannon County. And seeing us coming up, we've made some changes. There's been some changes. Myself is probably one of the biggest changes that was done in the system. And that's led to additional changes. We have a new high school football coach at Cannon County High School, Matt Daniel. The program is doing very well under his leadership. New high school principal in Mr. Courtney Nichols at the high school. And,
I'm a big fan of Courtney.
Excuse me, Principal Nichols. I have to call myself. I've known Courtney.
I shouldn't call him
I've known Courtney since he was a sophomore when I started teaching in 1986 at Westside, and he was a sophomore in high school. So Courtney and I go back a ways, but Principal Nichols is the right person to lead Cannon County High School.
I believe that too.
And we're going to see some outstanding things come out of Handy. We already have with great things that we're doing, but even better, that he is on board with looking at excellence every single day. In fact, they came up with the every day. He wants to get the credit for that. So we're going to let him have the credit for every day. So every day. But
He didn't strike me as
every day.
one who wanted credit.
Well, he's going to get the credit. He'd like to get the credit. So Courtney, if you're watching, we want you to think that we're proud of you. But we've seen also some additional changes in our district and a more positive environment. We had a great kickoff with teachers on professional development. And we're here at the Arts Center of Cannon County, and we utilize the Arts Center for our in-service. And at that point was the set of the Titanic. So that kept me on this whole nautical theme. And so I had sailor hats for every person was given those. We give those out. I had my admiral's hat on. Later at principal's meeting, we gave the captain's hats on. And at the center of those caps were our E3 symbol, like I'm wearing on my lapel.
Right.
And that is engage in excellence every day. And it was great because I handed that out and I gave them the orders. We dismissed them. I stood up on the helm of the ship and the Titanic.
Like the big dog,
absolutely. I was the admiral of the fleet. And considering everybody calls me admiral now in the school system. But here's what we did. The Titanic would not have sank had the vision been better. Had those people in the crow's nest given the indication of where that iceberg was, just a few minutes sooner, history would have all been changed. So my theme is that we have our mission and vision in place.
Yeah.
Let's look down and see the icebergs ahead, but let's also see where
And
the
there will
horizon.
be.
And there always are. Anything you do, and you've been around a long spell. I'll give you that. But Carolyn,
I hope this isn't about age that you're
it's
telling.
not. It is not. You're as young as you feel. But we need partners to help us too in this endeavor, and that's the whole community. Chamber of Commerce is great about working with our schools, about getting the word out on particular events, and thank you for allowing us being a part of that. But you're a partner too. Every person in this county is a partner in our school system.
They are. That's
Whether you're
true.
a grandparent or you have children or you don't have children, that you're still a partner with us in educating students for the betterment of our system. And let me talk just for a second about our job is to provide a safe, supporting environment. You're talking about safety. We're doing some upgrades. We've recently gotten a grant from the state of Tennessee on a safety grant, and we're looking at some changes. I can't divulge a lot of that because it is confidential.
I realize that.
But we're making safety improvements on each of our buildings. Access is a big deal about who has access to the buildings and not. But providing a safe and supportive learning environment is our first goal. Our second goal is tied into our vision, and that is to become one of the highest performing systems in the state. So we're after about performance, about our students. The second thing is what we're talking about today. Engaging, or the third thing, and that's engaging families and communities as partners in the learning process. You're our partners. Instead of the adversarial relationships, we are partners together seeking the same goal, and that is for the education of our students. And then the fourth thing that the board and our principals and supervisors came up with was to be fiscally and academically transparent. And been a lot of discussion about budgets and things in our budget and budgets with the county commission and all of
I was
that.
on the school board for 6 years.
So you understand that relationship quite well.
understand that.
But one of the things that we're looking at is that when we tell you something, this is the way it's going to be. There's no hiding or no this or that. This is where our funds are. This is where they're going to be spent. And when you look at a budget like we have, approximately $17 million budget, and that's probably substantial more than when you were on the board, but
Oh, yeah.
every penny is important to be spent where it needs to be spent, and that is in the classroom and where students are needing it the most. But there are other things that you've got to do. And I was told, well, everything's going toward the class, needs to be going to the classroom. Absolutely. But every one of our positions, and we have our supervisors wear multiple hats. Bonnie Patterson is an example, great individual. Bonnie's been a principal, an educator at the high school levels, elementary levels, and then was and now is central office supervisor. But she's not just the supervisor of attendance, but she's the supervisor of coordinated school health, and she does attendance on top of that and safety. So that's three major hats that she's wearing in a bigger system. Those hats are like, I can tell you others. Everybody in our central office has multiple jobs that they have to perform, and we do with what we can, with what we have.
And I think people sometimes don't realize that the money isn't there the day you start school, because it comes in from state, federal, and the county's mandated to put so much, a percentage of that county-wise toward the education. So, and special education is another area. And most of that is federal, but there's some local that goes in there too.
Absolutely. And, and what we understand is that, let the government teacher come out in me just for a moment.
Okay.
But you look at federalism being federal, state, and local, and that's a substantial amount of money that has to be spent correctly and by the rules, because if you get a grant, a state grant in particular, then there are certain rules and regulations that have to be followed with that grant, with particular funding and particular percentages of that funding have to be done. So,
well,
absolutely.
even with your federal and state money, they tell you where to spend it.
Exactly.
They don't just send you, say, here, you need this, spend it where you want to. It don't work like that.
No, not at all, not at all. But that partnership that we have, and that fourth goal, to be physically and academically transparent. At what we do, there's a reason of what we do. We don't do it just to be doing it, and we make up our own rules. Those rules are set by the state legislature. And we've got great partners in Senator Mark Pody, personal friend of mine, as well as Representative Clark Boyd, two outstanding legislators that are partnering with us because they're asking me a lot of times about legislation, and we're partnering with them to see that the great things are done for Cannon County schools. So it's been a great partnership with that.
Well, that's what it takes, though. It takes everybody.
It does, and that's one of our first beliefs, is that schools and family are an integral part of our community, schools and families. So
And your families are part. You know, you have control of the kids probably during school is in session. The schools see them more than their parents do.
We do. When you think about dropping that student off at usually around 7:30 that morning, and then they're not leaving out until nearly 3 o'clock, then yes, we do see them 5 days a week. And you know, our school calendar, and by the way, I'd like to publicize our website, and that website is at www.ccsTN.net. That's easy to remember, Cannon County Schools, Tennessee.net. And you can get all kinds of, there's links to every school in the system. We're encouraging all of our teachers to have updated websites where they can look up, I'm there, look up, I'm the director of schools, my email address and my phone numbers are there. And I stand as I'm number one, a public servant for the citizens of Cannon County in dealing with education. So I am the only employee of the Cannon County Board. And then, of course, I hire all the rest of those employees. And, you know, I depend on our principals to do the main part of that hiring, unless you're part of the central office or countywide person, then I'm in on those discussions. But I delegate to my principals, and I trust my principals. They're outstanding individuals. They do their job, and it makes my job a lot easier when they do their job. And we have outstanding principals. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up because I'd like to congratulate Miss Angela Cossey of Woodland School. She is the Upper Cumberland Principal of the Year, not just the county principal, but the Upper Cumberland Principal of the Year, and is a state finalist that will be decided in October. And I'd love to be having the principal, of the year for the state of Tennessee and in Cannon County. But that's not all. Our recently retired supervisor, Dr. Regina Merriman, who has also been selected to be the Upper Cumberland Supervisor of the Year and is also a state finalist for the Supervisor of the Year. Now, she just recently retired and is now teaching kindergarten at Boyd Christian School. Well, that's what she wanted to do in her retirement. She still wants to give back, and she's still a special consultant with their district. So Dr. Regina Merriman is a product of Cannon County, an outstanding educator. She is. And now is recognized as being an outstanding supervisor, which she is. And we already miss her in the office, but she's still around. In fact, she sent me some charts and graphs about some of our data just this past week. So she's still working for us, even though she's gone on to do other things. It takes a while
after you retire.
Well, that's what I've been told.
To really retire.
That's what I have been told. I'll be looking forward to that in a few years. There,
well,
Carol.
You think you will, and then you'll probably be one of those that'll hang out over there.
Well, I'm a historian by as part of my life, and my hobby is looking at history and examining history, genealogy, and particularly historical research is my hobby, as well as amateur radio. But I love historical research, and I was working on before being tapped to be the director, I was working on my second master's in public history at MTSU with a specialization in local history.
Okay.
And being a local history educator. So I've had to put that on hold, but we'll get there maybe.
We have a historical society.
Absolutely. We're working with Mr. Bush.
Yes.
On some projects here in Cannon County.
We ought to have you on there. The most calls I get, well, not the most, people call the chamber for everything.
Absolutely.
I hear complaints from the trash to roads not being finished, bridges tearing up. I thought, I don't know why they called the chamber, because all I can do is direct them to the one I think
Because
they
you have
ought to
Cannon
go
County,
through.
yeah, you have Cannon County in the front.
Because I don't have all the answers. But anyway, one of them is on genealogy, and
Right.
there's a lot of people
Oh, yeah.
that do their genealogy background, and they have, and I got to say, most of them are from Texas. Somehow there
Many
must have
Tennesseans
been,
left here and went to
That
Texas
must
and
have been what
in the
it was.
immigration cycle. But in Cannon County Schools, what we're doing, though, is that we're doing, again, a partnership and doing some things. Tennessee history is being taught. When you have new social studies standards about the state, I was fortunate to be the vice chairman of the Social Studies Standard Committee for the entire state. We worked nearly a year on those new social studies standards, which not only embed Tennessee standards, but there's some new things going about in 3rd and 5th grade that will be both only on Tennessee history. So we're excited about those kind of opportunities that come our way. But one of the things that I'm assuming with the Chamber too is that when people call and are exploring about moving to Cannon County,
they do.
that probably one of the number one things they ask about is our school system.
You know, they do. That's in the top 3. When people call here, when companies call here, and they may be interested in moving, or they're just researching certain things, their top 3 things are population, for one thing. They look at rooftops and the age, more seniors than the young adults to whatever. The third thing is, do you have a golf course? And schools get in there. They fall within the top 3 or 4, you know.
But it wouldn't be
now
nice
people moving here, with the exception that a lot of the people that are moving here no longer have children in school.
Right. But they have grandchildren that might want to come to. There's a large percentage of grandparents that are raising their students
they
now.
do, and I think maybe it's because we're
grandchildren.
small that you notice that more, but you're exactly right.
Let me say, too, is that wouldn't it be great when someone calls you that you can say, well, what's the mission and vision? And we can give you a copy of this, and you can send an email.
I got a copy.
And guess what? Just pop it. This is what our schools are doing. Number one, that we're preparing all students for their future, and the second, we're engaging in excellence every day to become one of the highest performing students in the state. So it would be great to say we are one of the highest performing systems in the state of Tennessee, that we have great schools and we have great teachers and principals and support staff, or cafeteria workers and janitors and educational assistants and all of those. In fact, we're the largest employer in Cannon County.
Yes, I do know that.
So we are, we talk about part of the community. We are the community.
Well, they are the community. You're right.
It's been great talking with you about some of our goals and vision and mission.
Well,
and,
I wish you
where we're
a
heading.
lot of luck.
Well, I need
for
it.
this year. Well, you will. I know
some people asked me after I became the director, give me congratulations or condolences, but I did tell them, I appreciate their prayers and their thoughts as we lead the system.
Well,
and it's important that people understand that the school's just not isolated over here. That we're in these communities. We're at Short Mountain and Auburn Town and East Side and Woodland and West Side and Woodbury Grammar and the high school. And, when I look at my 20,000-foot view and we see these schools, they're basically utilized as community centers as well.
That's exactly right.
And whether it's from voting or events that happen in the community, that we're partners with that local community.
You're right.
And we keep that local feel. And there's been some criticism about that. But as we progress more into the 21st century, and we're going to talk about those big issues, but let me tell you this, is that our students are not just students, but they are community members too.
They will be. They are now.
And they're going to be the taxpayers of Cannon County.
And the leaders.
And the leaders.
And you want them to stay. Some of them won't.
Yes.
But
we'll give them a pleasant to say, if you
off.
want to, this is an option for you. And we've had great success stories, and we're going to be looking at some of that in the future, about some great success stories from Cannon County schools people have gone on. I know there are other types of stories besides success stories, but I think we sometimes focus in on the not so good
bad things and not the good
instead of
things.
the good things. And that's one thing I want to try to do is look at some of these success stories. I think of an individual right now who went on to do outstanding things in his life. He joined the Navy, and now he's the second highest officer you can be in the enlistment. He's a CWO-4 in the United States Navy. Did you know, Carolyn, he was a short mountain guy, but he became the maintenance chief for the elite Blue Angels. Oh, wow. Guess what? He's still in the Navy, made it a career, and now is in Jacksonville, Florida, but still has hundreds of men under his command. A Cannon County success story. That's just one of many.
There's a lot of them.
There's a ton of them out there. So I solicited the viewers to send me an email of another success story. I think of a NASA scientist who was from right here in Cannon County, went on and did great things in the space program. So, you think about Cannon County being a small, isolated county, and we're put down by the big guys that are next door and some others. But guess what? There's something to be said about class size and how and success stories that we can look at as how do we achieve these goals, is to look at what we don't do so well, and that's what we do every day. We do that and examine what we don't do so well to get better, and that's what we've got to do with our test scores. And I can go for another hour or two on test scores, but let's talk about that conversation and see where we're at to see where we're going. We first got to know where we're at before we can go anywhere. You got to find your location. And guess what? We're in Cannon County.
You're right. And sometimes I look at all this conversation and controversy over test scores, and I've always felt like, and I still do, till someone proves me wrong, testing doesn't always tell you the whole story.
Well, it's a snapshot.
It is.
It's a snapshot in time.
And it should be thought of as
And there's
that.
a lot of factors going into that snapshot. We could talk about attendance and parental involvement, and then the role of an effective teacher. And to me, that's where I come in. I want that student to have the best possible teacher he or she can possibly have. And I want them to have the best principal that they could possibly have. And we have the right people on the right ships. The Cannon County Schools, the CCS ships and fleet is doing better, and we're sailing on and moving forward.
You really took that Titanic to heart, didn't you?
We did, that nautical theme.
That's all right.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm impressed. I'll tell you, you've done a good job so far.
Well, we want to succeed. Number one, our bottom line for Cannon County Schools is that Cannon County will succeed. We're seeing that academically. We've shown improvements. We're not the lowest scoring system in the Upper Cumberland. We've moved up. We continue to move up, and we want to be at the top of the Upper Cumberland. And not only that, but we want to succeed in everything we do, whether it's in our clubs. We have national officers from Cannon County in clubs. We have state officers from Cannon County in clubs. And also in the athletic program. Our athletic programs, Cannon County is known as the athletics is we want to be succeeding academically, but athletically too. We want to see, we're on our football team, a 2-1 record right now. We're going forward, and I think we've got people's attention in the Upper Cumberland.
Well, you've got cross country.
Absolutely.
We have so many more options now.
Yes, cross country is we're one of the highest performing. We're one of the highest performing teams in the state of Tennessee in cross country.
Right, and that program hasn't been that long since that was started.
That's correct. My friend Mark Larson got that moving, and he taught right across the hall from me. Brian Elrod, our current school board member from District 5, is now the coach for cross country. So we can give you a whole rundown about what's going on with those
and of course,
individuals.
Basketball
has always been big. Football is moving forward. Baseball is going forward. We're trying to get a facility built for a baseball program.
I think sometimes, Mr. Curtis, we've been guilty, and my kids all went to Cannon County High School. My grandkids went to Cannon County High School. I think sometimes we judge our schools, our programs, a lot of times by your athletic teams, and you shouldn't do that.
Right.
You shouldn't,
But-
that's part of it, but you shouldn't say, oh, well, they have a great basketball team. Well, I'm
Right.
proud for them, but that's not what you really ought
It's
to
the
be
whole
looking
child,
at.
Carolyn. I think you and I would both agree on that. It's the whole child.
Yeah.
It's all the whole child. And working with those students to make sure that they not only are academically prepared, which is their number one goal,
That's
but to
right.
be athletically prepared too and be competitive. I think that's what we're all wanting.
be
is
healthy.
Is competitive and be healthy. That's part of our coordinated school health program Ms. Bonnie does, is to be, we want them healthy.
Yeah.
And we want every student to partner with other organizations to make sure that that's being done. We've got many different organizations that we're a part of, and I see your other guest, and we've worked together on some other things. I don't leave her out. That we've worked together on lots of on projects together, and it's about the whole child, and making sure well, example. I'll give you another part of excellence is our food service program that we have with Jennifer Insell leads that program for our system, which is federally funded and all of that. But yet she has certain rules and regulations within that nutrition program that we do. But we fed kids here in Cannon County during the summer this year.
Yes.
We fed them in our Read to Be Ready program. That's another success story that we could talk a long time about is Read to Be Ready and what our Read to Be Ready did this year in Cannon County. Our third grade test scores are knocking it, and we are improved greatly.
And you have
in
local
third
churches
grades.
that are involved in that?
In fact, we worked with Feeding,
Right.
a couple local churches programs that they were going on. We partnered with
Right.
those faith-based organizations and worked together to feed their kids this summer. So everything thinks when we just shut down the summer, that is a misnomer.
No. School's kind of
we have a
year-round for
good
some people.
after-school program that is on the move and doing incredibly well this year.
Okay,
So we've
good.
got a lot of success stories that we need to kind of maybe toot our horn a little bit louder about that. And that's one of the ways we can do this together.
Well, I think so many people aren't aware of that.
And that's our job, to do a better job with the public relations. And that's one thing that is one of my strengths, is getting the word out. And that's what we're going to be doing time and time again, whatever venue, whatever avenue we're doing, through the newspaper, radio, video, through DTC, any avenue we can find to promote what we're doing well in Cannon County. So I hope that you'll invite me back again sometime.
I will. And then I'll talk about anything anybody will send me. So,
But it's my pleasure to be with you. And,
Well, it was good
and
to have
talking
you
with you. How
on.
are we on time? I can go another hour.
No, I've got to go on to the Child Advocacy Center
Absolutely,
now.
and we're great. I want to say to her that we're great. We've been great partners, and we'll continue with them. Her and Bonnie have worked together on numerous individual cases, and like I say, it's us working together with everyone for the students' benefit.
It is. It takes the community. It takes a village.
Well, and some people have a problem with that statement, but it does take all parts of the community working together to have a
does.
successful school system and a successful whole child development of communities of faith working together with the schools and with
That's
other
right. And it
organizations.
doesn't matter which faith.
Right.
That's not the
and we work
question,
together
you know.
for the betterment of our community.
That's right.
And I can go another 2 hours or 3 or 4 on that. But thank you
Well,
for the-
one of these
thank you.
days I'll let you have
Thank
your
you.
own show.
Thank you for the invitation, Ms. Carolyn, so much.
Well, we were glad to have you, Freddie, and I do wish you well.
Thank you.
Because I know there's challenges with that. I know there is.
Right. So can I rush and leave, or do
Sure,
I
you can
sit back?
stick around if you want to,
So-
but if you'd rather leave, you're welcome.
So thank you
to
so
do
much for the
too.
invitation. I look forward again real
Well,
soon.
we will. After Christmas, we'll have you back.
Okay, we'll be back.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, did you think I forgot about you?
Oh, no, I did not. And I wanted to reiterate what Mr. Curtis said, is that we, as a community, we work together, and we have to work together, but we work together to support families, and I think that's something that people need to understand, and to support children, and that's where you get the whole child. And I love to see all the different agencies in this community that work together,
I
work
do
hard
too.
together to support those families
Ms.
and
Castile,
children.
thank you so much for working together with Bonnie Patterson, our coordinator for attendance and other things that she does with Coordinated School Health. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Well, she's wonderful.
And we'll brag on you. You can brag on. We've got
Like I
great
say, I knew Bonnie when she played ball. Now, I'm not that old. I was a mere child myself. No, I wasn't a mere child. child.
We could probably talk about some of your grandchildren out there.
We could. They've all graduated, even from, I've got one left in college, and he's at Maryville. But
Great
yeah,
school.
they all played sports of some kind, or they were in the band. I had one that was all about music and everything, but they all live here. My kids still live here, and all my grandkids do, and I'm very fortunate, because I would hate to see them move on.
And we're glad to educate them.
That's right.
And Ms. Castile
And
wants
you
to take
did.
care of them too.
Well, they're probably past that. They might work as volunteers now, so.
We will take those too.
Okay, and for those of you that don't know, this is Cassell Davis, and she is with the Child Advocacy Center in Woodbury, and well, tell us, Cassell, what you deal with at the Child Advocacy Center.
Well, I'm the Cannon County Coordinator for the Child Advocacy Center here in Cannon County. I'm full-time here. I love working in this community and working with families. We provide a variety of services. One of the things that we do is we do forensic interviews with children who have been sexually abused. We are set up in our center to where we have a family room. The family can sit, they sit in a room. It's designed to be very comfortable, family-friendly and child-friendly, stuffed animals, comfortable couches, books. And so the family comes in, they're greeted by myself. I'm a family advocate. We also have a forensic interviewer. The forensic interview does the interviews while I sit with the family. So the interview is being done in another room with the forensic interviewer, and then in another room we have DCS and law enforcement watching the interview as it takes place. We work together as a team with DCS and law enforcement. That also prevents a child from having to tell their story about being abused more than one time, because that can re-traumatize a child if they have to tell it over and over again. It can also taint an interview. While that's taking place, the family advocate is sitting with the family, because the family is also experiencing trauma and they're in crisis. So we listen to parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whomever it is that is there with that child, and also help them to get the services that they need. Another service that we provide is the Drug Endangered Children's Program. With that, we go into homes and we do in-home counseling. It can be once a month, it can be twice a week. It just depends on the need of the family. We work with children whose parents are currently using drugs or have used in the past. Some of those children are currently with their parents, some of them are with grandparents, some are being cared for by great-grandparents. But we work with the parents and we work with the non-offending caretakers and also the children. Just helping them transition, helping with any crises they're going through, helping them locate other services that they might need that may help them. We also, I take food out to families when they need it. I take blankets.
A lot
I
of
take
it
them
is
toilet paper
financial
out.
crisis.
Right.
You know.
So when families are in need, we do anything that we can do to help, and we cannot provide those things without people who make donations to us. I have people that bring by clothing, baby clothing, children's clothing. I've had lots of things donated for babies recently that I've already given out. Like every week someone gives me something for a baby, I've already given it out to someone within a day or two. So we can't do that without the donations that we receive. In the wintertime, blankets, those are a big thing. I gave a lot of blankets out last winter. Some families have trouble paying their electric bill, or they live in a place that isn't very well insulated and it's just cold in there.
Yeah.
And so we do whatever we can to help families in any way that we can. We also provide another service, and it is the Darkness to Light training. It's a training that we do in communities. I've done one this year. I did it with Teacher in Service, and it talks about the 5 steps to protecting our children in our community. And it can be done anywhere. We can do it with a church. We can do it with, we've done it with the domestic violence shelter. I think we're doing a community-wide one at the Senior Center on September 14th. It's open to anyone in the community that wants to come. It's at noon. So step 1 in that is to learn the facts, and that is that 1 in 10 children are sexually abused before they're the age of 18. And 90% of them know their abuser. Stranger danger is not the actual truth. I mean, I think even when I was growing up, you were taught to stay away from strangers. But 90% of these children are abused by someone that they know. Minimize opportunity. You learn how to eliminate or reduce isolated one-on-one situations with children, how to decrease that. It kind of makes you think about things in a different way. You see children and your own children or children that you work with and the people that come in contact with them or situations that they're in, and their availability to others, and you kind of learn how to reduce that. Step 3 is to talk about it, have open conversations with children about their bodies, sexual abuse, and boundaries. One big thing that we talk about is the names for body parts. And we try to encourage people.
There's lots of names for body parts.
There are lots of names out there, and when children sometimes refer to a body part as a name that might be like a common, well, this is going to sound bad. I'm trying to say, when they refer to it as a name that is not a scientific name, then sometimes that is not, then it's not a red flag to someone. They
Yeah.
don't understand what they're talking about. And so it talks about that. It talks about how important it is to teach children the language that can be
Is
used.
appropriate.
Yes. Also, how to recognize the signs, knowing the signs of abuse to protect children from it. There are signs that people may not even realize may be a red flag, like a change in behavior. Children have even been diagnosed with ADHD, but it's actually a red flag because they were sexually abused and how their behavior has changed and how they're acting out. There are all kinds of different signs, and it talks about those signs and how to recognize them. And then also how to react responsibly, how to respond to those risky behaviors, and how to report it. And by reporting it, even if you just question it and you're not sure, it's better to report it. And the phone number to report is 1-877-237-0004. That's the child abuse hotline number. Again, even if you question it and you're not sure, it's better to report it, because if you're unsure, then you don't know. And if you're not in that home with that child all the time, you don't know. So we encourage everyone to report any questions that they have about child sexual abuse or child abuse in general. And in that way, you're helping to prevent it also.
Okay, well, you have a big job, Cassell, and it's difficult. That whole scenario right there, any way you look at it, is difficult. It's difficult to deal with. It's difficult to think that somebody in the family would do something like that. You know, it's almost unbelievable, but it does happen. And of course, sometimes one of the parents or both, like you say, are taken out of the home. And if that leaves one parent and small children, then that creates a financial problem too.
It does, and it is hard to think that someone would abuse a child in any form or fashion. I'm a backup forensic interviewer, and I've done those for years. My background's with DCS, so I have a different way of looking at these cases when they come in. Not just the sex abuse cases, but the drug endangered children's cases too, is that like with the forensic interviews, the child is telling about being abused. That's their first step in healing. They are telling someone and they are getting it all out. And then law enforcement and DCS are there, and they are able to hopefully stop that person from doing that to that child, from abusing that child or any other child. But it also helps the child who's been abused to start receiving the services that they need so that they can move forward in life and move towards healing. So I look at it as a process of starting to move toward healing and getting help, and then stopping that person from hurting another child. And then with drug endangered children, I love helping families. So I love going out and being able to help families in any way that I can. So,
Well, I'm glad. You know, it's kind of like being a nurse. You've got to have, I don't want to say enjoy that, but you've got to have that inner something that lets you do that. You know, without, I couldn't be a nurse. And I've got a granddaughter who is. She just passed the state boards, and I thought, I just can't believe that you deal with emergency room cases. I'd be I just don't do that well. Just because they'd have me in the bed next to them before it was all over. And I'd say this would probably be the same situation, you know. But I have to admire anybody who does. And I admire the work that you do and that this organization does, because I still say that's a difficult situation that you're walking into.
Well, and we
I know you
for
look at
sure,
it as
but
healing, but it's still difficult. So,
it is. Well, and families go through difficulties and traumas and crises, and so we're there to help them through that crisis and help them be able to move forward in life, and that in turn helps the children be able to move forward in life. And when you support, like I was telling Mr. Curtis, when you support the family and you support the child and you bring in other resources, then hopefully you're raising, the community is helping the child to be healthy, which eventually helps the community.
this all goes hand in hand. If you've got a child that's dealing with these situations at home, it's going to carry over to the schools.
Yes.
It's going to carry over to their learning ability or the way they act in school. It all goes hand in hand. It's not just isolated
Right.
to one area, so, and I'm sure teachers deal with, I know they do. They deal with this, that they're aware of things that don't seem quite right, so this gives them a resource.
Well, and often when you have children that may be missing school and have chronic truancy, it may not be that the parent just doesn't care about sending the child to school. They may not have transportation. They may not have the resources they need in their own home to prevent situations like lice and things like that. They may not have running water. I mean, I've had situations like that in working with families and helping them get into a even a better place to live, where they were able to have running water and the things that they needed so that their family could be healthy. But there are so many other factors that go into things, and I don't think people always realize that.
No, they don't. They don't. And I don't think people realize that we have children in this community. I think every community does.
Every community does.
That deal with these things. And even if it's not a case of drugs or sexual abuse or whatever, there's just some families that struggle. And so do the children.
Yes, and every community does. The thing about Cannon County that I think a lot of people know is that there aren't many resources here as far as mental health, drug and alcohol treatment, those types of things. People have to go out of county for that. They have to go to Rutherford County, they have to go to Warren County, Coffee County. And so the services that we provide are free. They don't have to pay anything for them, and we can go to them because not everyone has transportation, or not everyone can afford gas to go out of county to get what they need. And so we are able to do those things and be able to go in the home and provide those to those families, and
to at least help them with
and right, help with their stress. We don't want to put more stress on them.
Right.
And so that's what the other thing that I love about what we do is it's free and we can go to families.
I'm sure they're proud over that too. And of course, as you say, donations are important. And fundraisers, you have several fundraisers. You had a run walk earlier in the year, and two gentlemen came in last week, and they are having on, let me see here, October 13th, around the courthouse, they're having a Cannon County Harvest Festival. And the way they're doing this is, if you want to set up a booth around the courthouse, it's $10. All the proceeds will go to the Child Advocacy Center, and you can sell your crafts. You can sell preserves or art or furniture or antiques, baked goods, anything that you want to sell. You can sell around the courthouse. Now, we had something similar to this earlier this year, and it was like a yard sale around the square, and it got a lot of really good response. And so we're hoping that this will do the same thing. And anytime I tell you this, you can always call the chamber. And I'll be glad to give you numbers where you can get in touch with people that could help you with whatever. But I think this would be a fun thing, and they not only need people who are going to set up, they need buyers. So if you don't want to set up a booth, you might need something that somebody else has. So you can come to the, there's no charge to go around and shop.
Right.
And it will be from 8 in the morning until 8 p.m. So you got a full day to go around the courthouse. Is there anything else you want to say about that?
I am so excited that they have chosen us to be a recipient of the funds that are raised through this. All the money that is raised from the Harvest Festival will stay in Cannon County with the Child Advocacy Center in Cannon County. We are a satellite of the Rutherford County office, but this is a fundraiser for the Cannon County Advocacy Center. I know that they are going to also have a petting zoo, I think they told me. There's going to be a
they didn't
hayride.
tell me that.
It's going to be very family focused,
Oriented.
and I think there may be some music also. The Advocacy Center will be there. We are going to have a booth also. We'll be selling our T-shirts and maybe some baked goods and a few other things. But we would love for anyone to come by and say hello to us. We'd love to give you more information about what we do.
And you also accept donations, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We accept donations of clothing, toys, blankets, books, almost anything, toilet paper, paper towels. So
Listen,
almost anything.
if you're
that we can
without
give out
toilet
to
paper, you're in need.
people. So, and I have come across that. So, I keep a reserve because I mean,
That's,
you don't know
that's
that it does
crucial to
happen.
me. That
So-
would be crucial.
So, but yes, and we want to thank Stones River Recovery Center for wanting to.
I
have
couldn't remember
this.
the name of the organization,
Yes.
but that is who it is.
Yes, they're
It
the
is.
ones who are behind the Harvest Festival, and we just really want to thank them for choosing us for this fundraiser.
Well, Cassell, I've got to go on with some events. I'm running short on time. So if you just hold on a minute. Of course, September 28th through October 13th, Agatha Christie, and then there were none will be showing at the Art Center. October 21st, there is a fermentation workshop with Mr. Sandor Katz, who is a world-renowned author on that subject, and it will be at Short Mountain Cultures, located at the Art Center. And so you can come in and learn. He can ferment just about anything. But if you want to learn some more on that, then he'll be putting on a workshop for that. September 22nd, this is near and dear to my heart. This will be the 20th year for the Color of Fall Car and Truck Show on the square in Woodbury. Registration starts at 8 a.m. until 12 noon. Dash plaques, goodie bags to the first 100 entries, 66 trophies, and 6 cash awards will be presented. DTC will be on hand to draw for the 32-inch TV that they give away. There'll be great door prizes, a 50-50 drawing, DJ music, and more. And so if you need any information or you need a brochure, please call the Chamber of Commerce at 615-563-2222. October 6th will be the Cannon County High School Basketball Boosters Club will present a cruising downtown style on the square in Woodbury from 3 until whenever y'all decide to go home. And there will be a 50-50 drawing, DJ music, and concessions. And you can call me and I can give you the people to call if you're interested in that. And that is a fundraiser for the girls' basketball program. Let me see, October 13th from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. is the Harvest Festival we just spoke about on the square in Woodbury. October 27th will be the last Chamber of Commerce cruise-in for the season. It will be a toy drive cruise-in from 3 to 6 p.m. Everybody's welcome, and bring a toy. Even if you're not a cruiser, you can bring a toy to be given to the Children's Advocacy Center, to be given to children at Christmas time. And then October 26th through the 28th is Off the Beaten Path Studio Tour, and that will take place from 10 until 5 p.m. And you can visit their website at offthebeatenpathtour.com. And don't forget the farmers market. That's every Saturday morning at the Art Center under the pavilion outside. And I'm out of time, and thank you, Cassell, for being with us, and good luck.
Thank you, Carolyn, for having me. And if anyone needs to reach us, it's the number 615-563-9915.
Okay.
Thank you.